Hey, Brent Parker here, and I'm just taking a break from some work I was just doing, and just feel led to come on and just share these thoughts with you. Bear with me, if you will, to the end of this video. This one might be a little bit longer than usual. Usually my videos are about 4 or 5 minutes. This one might be double that long, but this is an extremely important message, and we really invite you to just stick with me throughout this message. You know, in 2010, I was recovering from the mortgage meltdown and had pretty much lost everything, and I was at a point where I was even having to live with my mother again in my late 30s. And as I was rebuilding my mortgage company, one of my employees, who used to be one of my soccer players that I coached at a Christian school in Kentucky, came in to work one day and was sharing that he and his wife were going to go on the mission trip with the church that we were a part of that would help in the relief efforts of the Haiti earthquake. And, you know, I really wanted to go on that trip, but I didn't feel like I could go because, you know, I was in financial ruin, really, and trying to recover from that. And I didn't feel like it would be responsible for me to go. So long story short, what had happened was about 3 weeks after he told me that they were going to go on this trip, he and his wife had raised all the money for both of them to go, on top of and plus, you know, more than they needed, so that they could actually give some money and some aid to the people there in Haiti. And his wife at the last minute was unable to go because she was pregnant, and the doctors said that she was having some complications enough to be concerned that she shouldn't fly and go into Haiti. And so he invited me to take her place. And you know, it was an interesting situation because I told him how I felt. I said, you know, I really would love to go, but I got to tell you up front, I don't have the money, and I don't have any. I don't feel like I could take any time away from my business. Because I'm a father, and you know, I need to get myself reestablished financially. And you know, so if you've got the money, if everything's paid for, I'd be happy to go, but I need to actually work this business all the way up until the day we leave. And I just got to tell you up front, I can't spend any time raising any funds. I can't spend any time you know, preparing for this trip other than, you know, the basics of packing a bag, basically. And so as time went on, you know, I didn't even have a passport, and this guy was very helpful. He brought me an application to fill out to get my passport expedited through a company that he had worked with in the past. And what had happened was we were about 4 days until it was time to leave, and he had not sent off my application for my passport. I guess there was a misunderstanding, and he thought I was going to take care of that, and it didn't get done. So I was in a crunch. So, you know, we basically, you know, we called the company, and they basically said it would be, you know, an X amount of dollars to get it expedited within, you know, 72 hours or something like that in order for me to have it in time to go. And, you know, he was at a point where he had actually had to pay extra to get my flight because the airlines would not simply let me slip into her seat, his wife's seat. It had to be repurchased, and it was actually twice as much as her ticket was, which again, he had an overflow of some funds, but it got to a point where he was really like, you know, at a point where he didn't want to spend any more of the overflow because he wanted to give that to the people in Haiti, which I completely understood. But, you know, I reiterated to him, I said, man, you know, I guess it's just not God's will for me to go because, like I said, I don't feel like it'd be responsible for me to neglect my responsibilities at home to go and take this trip. And so we went to bed that night 4 days before the trip, and we just, you know, we agreed that I probably wasn't going to go on the trip. And then, you know, something happened when we both slept. We woke up, we both were stirred in our spirit, and we both said, you know, we believe it's God's will for me to go on this trip. And so we began to look around, and we looked on the internet, and we found out that there was a way for me to get my passport. What I'd have to do is I'd have to drive to Detroit, Michigan, which was about 6 hours away from Louisville, and I'd have to get my passport and you know, in person, and then drive back. And so I knew I'd have to rent a car because I didn't even own a car at the time. And so we went to rent a car, and you know, I knew that my credit was shot from all the loss I'd gone through we knew, I believe we actually pulled his credit for some reason, not long before this, and he had decent credit, definitely far about 100 points higher than mine, and mine was in the gutter. And so anyhow, we get to the car rental place, and at this point, I got to tell you, he was a little frustrated with me, and probably rightfully so, because he had spent extra money. He had gone through and done all the legwork to get me to go on this trip, and I think he was kind of feeling used and abused, so to speak. And so anyhow, he really was reluctant to use his credit card to pay for this car. And I said, okay, no big deal. I've got about $400 in the business account. I'll just use those funds. I really shouldn't, because those are business funds, but at the end of the day, I'm going to go ahead and use them. And so anyhow, what happened was when the car rental place wanted to pull credit on him, and I was going to be a second driver. He wasn't even going to go with me, so I had to be added as a second driver. And they pulled his credit, which again we knew was good, and his credit failed. It failed the credit check. And so we're sitting there kind of with our hands in the air thinking, I don't know what we're going to do now, because he didn't have a car that he felt like was safe for me to drive to Michigan, plus he needed this car for his own family. And I didn't have another option. And so I said, well, the only thing I know to do is you can pull my credit and see if it passes, but there's just no way it will pass, because I know it's way worse than this guy. So they pulled it, and lo and behold, my credit passed, and I was able to get that car and go on to Michigan and get my passport. There's actually a whole nother story, and what I had to go through to get my passport. It was a task. I mean, it was a lot of blocks that the devil tried to put up. But what happened through all that is it made me realize two things. Number one, that God did want me to go on that trip, and number two, that he wanted me to realize that it was okay and acceptable, and actually His perfect will and plan, I believe, for me to even neglect my own needs, my own family, to go and help those in need in Haiti. There's a scripture in the Gospels, and I can't remember which one it is, but it says something to the effect that he who forsakes mother, father, children, the list goes on, family, basically, for the sake of the gospel, will be blessed. And that's very much a paraphrase, but it's in there. You can Google it if you want to. But at the end of the day, that scripture came alive in my life that day, that week, and we were able to go and do some work there in Haiti, and it was a great blessing for us and for the people. And but what it did was it brought me to a realization that God has definitely called me to do this over and above everything else. I've been an entrepreneur and a businessman for over 20 years, and God has blessed me in many ways in those areas. But at the end of the day, that's a means to an end. It's really not my calling. My calling, that's my trade. I heard another man say the other day, I'm a businessman by calling and a minister by. I'm a businessman by trade and a minister by calling. We call it business tree, right? But anyhow, at the end of the day, what I'm sharing with you, and the reason I'm sharing with you this, is because I have the same exact feeling about this relief effort and ministry that needs to be done in the Philippines. Most of you know that are watching this, and if you don't know, I'm going to tell you now that I've been to the Philippines on 3 occasions, and it's been a great place for ministry. And I just know there's no way, with the connections that God has helped me to make there, and the people that I know there, that I love, that quite frankly there's a whole group of them that I haven't been able to reach. And I'm actually pretty concerned about them. I trust that the Lord's will is being done in their lives, and I don't know I don't know what's going on with them, but I can tell you this: I know that those people need major help. This typhoon was the largest storm to ever break landfall, and it's killed. The death toll is up around 10,000, and you've seen the news, you've seen the reports. But what I'm asking you, friends, is to partner with me on this. I'm going to be going myself and partnering with a couple of ministries, at least one that I know of, and we're going to be taking in supplies. We're going to be going in there and providing relief effort. And what I want to share with you is this, because I've had people say to me, and it's a legitimate concern, but I want to address this. I've had people say to me, why would you spend, a couple $1,000s per person to go over there and back, and when you could donate to some other relief effort, you could take that money and donate to some other relief effort. First and foremost, I'm not telling you not to donate to any relief effort that is true and genuine, that is actually doing work to help these people. I encourage you to do that. What I am saying is this: in my experience, there's categories of people that God uses to work with people and to help people and to bring people to restoration. And there's one category of people that are sent, and there's another category of people that send, and there's another category of people that that strictly provide supplies and things like that, like companies and things like that. But my point is this: it's really two categories. It's those that go and those that send. And what I have experienced for me, and I just gave you the testimony of how I didn't want to even do this. I felt like I was, back when I was as broke as I was back in the day, thought I was neglecting my responsibilities to go do this. But the Lord showed me that was not the case. But what I'm saying is that there's really nothing more powerful than the human touch. If you think about a time, maybe you were in the hospital, or maybe you were going through a loss in your life, or maybe you were going through a real hard time, something tragic. I mean, I personally can't even imagine what some of these people are going through with such a huge storm, and the place just flooded, and I can't even imagine. I couldn't imagine what was going on in Haiti until I got there. And then when I got back, somebody asked me, how was Haiti? And I literally went to describe it, and I didn't have any words. It's just the catastrophe that these storms can cause is just you can't describe it. And so what I'm saying is when your back's against the wall, right? And I know that we've all probably experienced something in our lives where our back has been against the wall, and no amount of money, even food and water, although those things are necessary, what you appreciated most was the human touch. Let's say you were in the hospital, and you just had surgery or something. A lot of you have had babies. What was most important to you? Was it the medicine? Was it the food? Was it the water? Sure, all of those are essential, absolutely. But what meant the most to you, I would be willing to bet, is the human touch, the visitors that came and saw you and comforted you in your time of illness or your time of recovery or whatever it is. Maybe you've never been sick and you've never been in a health condition, crisis, but maybe you've been in a financial crisis, right? Where, somebody came and they gave you help. They gave you food, they gave you water, they gave you shelter, they gave you clothes, they gave you whatever you needed. But at the end of the day, really what meant the most to you was the fact that the person themselves came and touched you and maybe encouraged you, gave you a word of encouragement or prayer, and lightened your spirit, so that you could get through that time. And there's all kinds of examples. Like I said, most of us have been through something, so I'm just asking you, friend, to partner with me on this. Let's do this together. You would be as much of a part of this relief effort as I am, or whoever decides to go with me. I'm inviting you to go with me if you'd like to go. If you have any desire to go, we will be going under the ministry that God has set up for me called Impact Global Network, and this is under the covering of CGIA through Dr. Cho in Korea, and I'm ordained through Pastor Dr. Bob Rogers in Louisville, Kentucky of Evangel World Prayer Center. And so that's the covering we'll be going under. And if you'd like to donate, you can contact me at a.brentparker@gmail.com, a.brentparker@gmail.com. If you'd like to go, you can contact me in the same way. If you would like to donate through the CGIA so that you can get a tax write-off, we can arrange that. You can send your donation to them, and I can email you back their office address, and they'll be happy to get those funds over to me to complete this mission. If you'd like to if you'd like to donate or if you'd like to go, just contact me once again at a.brentparker@gmail.com, and we'll talk to you again soon. All right, God bless. Bye-bye.